Hello, one and all, George here, and today what I want to bring to you is an after-action report for Scenario 24, the Mad Minute. Now, if you saw the previous video, you might want to skip ahead because I decided ultimately to give you a record of the log files and how the action transpired. And it's a very interesting scenario. I think I have a pretty good system of handicapping myself and playing it solo. Um, just a recap, if you haven't seen the previous video, is uh, how I played it solo is pretty much I, I'm playing as the attacker. The defender is in pre-designated fire groups that make sense. And then, according to some dice rolls, and if they are designated as a forward, according to some dice rolls, they will either be in a forward defense, a middle defense, or a rear defense. Unbeknown to me as the attacker, how uh, everything will be put on the board. So essentially, I am setting up first as the attacker. I'm doing the reverse of the scenario instructions to handicap myself, and then as the defender, your role is pretty clear. You do what makes sense, but as the attacker, you really have to put in a plan that is going to work, and hopefully will succeed. So my plan as the attacker was twofold and very bold and audacious, I think. Let's pick a color. Color red usually does it. Okay, and a marker. Okay, hold on. All right. Oh, that's large. Let's go here. There you go. So the plan was we have a couple of half tracks here, a few half tracks, um, some Panthers and some regular Panzer IVs, more or less, that have smoke capability. So the plan for the German player was uh, to take the um, half tracks and bring them full speed along the rear of the village and try to bring some German troops to take some buildings in the rear. Okay. In the meantime, the main force would do a frontal tank assault. So three groups, three Panthers, three groups, two Panzers for each Panther as a guard, and a smoke discharger. Dischargers slash smoke throwers. Of course, um, you see that we all are also set up as the American to do a flank attack on any potential frontal assault by the Germans. Let's see if we can pick another color for. No, in this case, I think let's see if dark blue does the trick. Yeah, it does the trick. So we are positioned in terms of defense to prevent a front assault and at the same time any flanking attack. Boom, crossfire. Now, ultimately, what I did not do here is use mortars with spotters along this building. I'm not sure I did that. I found that the mortars were best placed in situations where they can defend against any infantry advancing through a wood line, because as you all know, um, what happens is with woods you get airburst. So um, whenever there are mortars around, a player has to think twice before using woods as cover. So that was basically it, the general plan. So with that said, with no further ado, let's go on and go through the log. Okay, I'll turn off the chicken scratches and the arrows and my handsome face, and we'll get to the action. There you go. So moving along, Actually, we'll skip this step. So I spared you guys the burden of watching me place all these uh, units on board where they're coming in. And as you can see, we have three assault groups, each doing a armor assault, while the reconnaissance units are here. Reconnaissance slash penetration, rear penetration uh, units are here. And as the German player approaches some of these potential enemy points, we'll roll for activation and put them on board. So ultimately, we really don't know where the enemy is. So the first half track activated a M10 right there, and it looks like, well, we rolled for weather, and this is movement phase. So I guess I'm rolling here for the M10 for a two-hit dice roll. It appears. It doesn't look like I got rate, which is a shame. But I did maintain concealment because in this case, the by SSR, the tank destroyers are behaving like AT guns, and we blew to smithereens the first half track that walked on board. But I'm saving, I'm saving the leader for last. So uh, this fellow firing right off the bat, I may have killed a half squad in a half track, but still the leader uh, will have some leeway. So we activated the second AT gun, and as you can see, he didn't show up here. He showed up in the mid defensive position, and he still has line of sight there. Yeah, here we go. We're acting a couple more units, activating a couple more units here, rolling on the two-hit table. There's a sniper check there as well. And complete miss there. Now the bazooka is being activated. He activated way forward, the mortar. Now we'll see if we have an AT gun. And three of the four half tracks emerged on board unscathed. And they are confronting a M10 here, an AT-57L there. Now here comes the main armor assault. So we're trying to activate the AT-57L there, but he popped up here. Again, you can run this video at even 2 speed or 1.75, 1.5 if you've already seen it and jump ahead. But so far, the German player has just put in one Panther and activated quite a few units. Here comes the accompanying Panzer, Panzer 4H. They're good because they really got a good MG armament and they can throw smoke. We're going CX. Now we are activating more units. But it seems that what's happening is more units are popping up, more American units are popping up in the rear rather than in front. But there is a good amount of units that will, um, in this case, I just decided to put as many units on board as I can now because I needed opportunities to fire at, at these uh, at these advancing troops. It makes no sense for me to have units deactivated when a large portion of the OB is coming on board and there's a lot of firepower being activated. So let's just look briefly over the board. We have a 57L there, a 57L here guarding the flanks. We have one M10 here, another M10 down there. And the Americans, with their best leader, they got the beat on the Germans, and We're only sacrificing a half squad with the leader and the HMG up there. Um, should the uh, Germans uh, should the Germans decide to go all out against the leader with the best MMG. I think already these units here were eliminated, and if I remember correctly, it was probably this guy that took him out, and he got raped. Hmm. Yeah. So if you look at the, let's see, let's take a look at the casualty bin. Already we have 5 CVP in the casualty bin. Right off the bat, we lost 2 units and 2 half full squads, 1 half squad, and the 9-2 leader. So that already bring right off the bat on the first turn, you got a dent in the German OB. There he goes again, gets right. No, actually, this is on the IFT to hit. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the STAM activation was pretty good too. Where's the American sand? Right down there. Okay. There's a German sand. Pins that unit. Still more movement. So you see that fire there? Look at that. Snake eyes. Snake eyes. Wow. That was leader directed. What a shot. DM'd everybody there. Ooh. Casualty reduction on that MC. Wounds that leader. There's nothing worse than self-annihilation with that boxcars and a morale check. Nothing worse, man. And if you roll Yahtzee's 12s, no sound activation there. Hey, we got a -2 act there from G. All the way down here. Where's G? Where's G? Oh, down here. No. Oh, figure it out. Oh, it's the mortar. It's the mortar. There he is. -2. That's a bummer. A -2 area. Ooh, the 57L pops up. Starts trying to hit this AFV. This half track. Not much yet. Just missing all over the place. Firing again. This is German advance fire. So we're just firing now to get acquisition. And look at the German axe coming down on the board everywhere. You'd think that these guys would be obliterated, but not yet. Look, 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 look. Couple of brokies. Hey, anybody that's played the Americans long enough knows that they break, but they bounce back pretty quickly. Okay, I think we're going on to some loss checks, some board maintenance. Okay, American turn 1. Still have that on the Axis side, but it don't matter. So we're doing some prep fire. No skulking here. Oh, the 57L is now here is taking aim at those half tracks. Let's see what happens there. Another burning wreck. It doesn't look good for the Germans. Here's another AT gun. So this column here is getting annihilated, basically because the American armor and 2 of the 3 57Ls are on this flank. And set up mid to rear facing, in a rear and a mid defense position. Oh crap, look at that. Excuse my language. We just broke one of the 3 AT guns right down here. And now 2 out of the 4 half-tracks are still alive. We're shooting our machine guns and heavy, but that ends up locking their covered arc as they're firing out of woods and buildings. So on we go. Well, this fellow opens up on these broken units. Old snakes on the IFT. Axis sand. Did we forget the sand check? Probably. There you go. We did. Oh, actually, yeah. All right. Now it's Allied movement, turn 1. We decide to move up the armor where it could possibly make a difference. Here, declaring a gun duel was probably out of the question because he would have gotten to fire first in any case. So, and then the other thing that impedes a gun duel for the Germans is that the Americans start up with being concealed or hip, so you can't declare necessarily a gun duel against a concealed unit. Now, what happens if a hip unit comes on to play? Uh, I think they come up on the board unconcealed, unless they're an AT gun. And in this case, by SSR, these guys were behaving like AT guns. But this unit here, right, is now blocking this axis of advance. Um, they'll have to dodge the bullet from this unit here, providing he doesn't break his gun, providing a lot of things. So uh, here, what has happened is that uh, this guy got immobilized, and he didn't pass the task check, and now his crew is marked with hazardous movement. More movement. He defensive fired against him, got the ACK on him. Some really ridiculous rolls on the IFT. Pins all over the place. Now we're firing at a fellow up in the second level. Ultimately, the unit here broke. And actually, the multi-man counter, the squad pinned, but the leader broke. There we go again. Firing. And we broke one of the best leaders. But the squad did quite well. The HMG. Here comes more snake eyes. And we got ourselves a hero. We got ourselves a hero up there. Look at that. The half squad became fanatic and also created a hero from German fire, defensive fire, that is. Here we go with more snake eyes, heat of battle on morale checks. I think we're also creating a lot of heroes here. Let's see what happens. So here we exchanged fire. We got hack on each other, but he's gonna prep fire. Now, him prep firing is a bad thing because he needs to get his squads close to their objective, as close to their objective as possible. And let's not forget the victory objective is to control 22 or more buildings, and that's a lot of capturing to do. Um, so one fellow routed to the base level. We have now a a hero that is wounded here. And did we get a? And this fellow became fanatic, so he has an 8 morale. He cannot, yeah, he cannot battle harden. So he becomes fanatic. We have a broken AT gun down there. Uh, yeah, that's how the cookie has crumbled so far. So we advance some more people from the rear up because we know that the main crux of the attack is up here. German turn 2, rally phase. And as you can see, this guy's back up and at him. That's a game changer. This fellow just routed to the rear. He did not rally, but he's under the M. Now we have two wounded SMCs, a wounded leader and a wounded hero. So he's on the brink of getting eliminated, really. We should have gotten rid of the covered arc change. But we have a unit with an 8 morale up here and a bazooka. So it doesn't bode well for the Germans, but look at the armor factors um, on the Panther. They're 18, but with a lower armor factor for the turret. Wow. So here comes the first shot, and I believe that's a hit to kill. He's gone, and there's no crew survival. Now the German tanks are taking aim at the second level machine guns. We managed to put smoke in the hex for the HMG, so it'll be a +4 firing out of that hex to the dice roll. So we're doing everything by the books, and um, if your opponent does not suspect a frontal assault, that could be a game changer because there are some blockages or hindrances to loss from a flank attack here and also here. But then there's a little bit of a gap here that he can shoot from. Yeah. And a frontal assault makes sense because you're bringing your troops closer to their objectives. And only troops can really have the sense that they can capture those buildings uh, more so than armor, unless you pop the crews out of the armored fighting vehicles and then you advance them into the buildings, which is not really a good idea. It's only a desperate measure. If I remember correctly, um, what happened here? Did the crew survive? I guess he got it back in to his AFE in his movement phase, which is doable. But all that happened to this AFE right now is that he got immobilized. Now we're really running the gauntlet with um, the half tracks with their objective of getting into the rear of the village. And that being said, the idea behind this is that this half squad can do more harm in the rear of that village to the Americans than than the uh, than the Panther, provided you position them in a situation that prevents the American player from routing. Failure to route is an outright elimination. So that too makes sense. But again, you're dealing with uh, a lot of firepower on the American side. Here we go. Missed. And he's going all around the daisy. Let's see if we can. Well, that's too much magnification. There you go. So, oops, this guy turned his covered arc to hit. I think there might be an intensifier hit there. Let's take a look. Yep, there is an intensifier hit there. Blew him up using intensifier. So only one out of the four half tracks survived. Two became burning wrecks. And there's another mortar just right there. Broken due to block scars. So we prep fired everybody in this turn, which is not really good. But we did do some damage. We broke this fellow. This guy's in smoke. This guy should have been in smoke. I don't remember what happened there. And this dude is in smoke. So um, you shouldn't have any problems advancing. Oh, the smoke there. I thought we had smoke there. Oh well. Ooh, check that out. The M10 took out another tank. He spins around. Boom. Hits the other half track, but I believe the crew survived. Nope, burning wreck. Oh, you guys are saying I'm a maniac. There's a critical hit up in R2. Blew the heck out of the support weapon. This is now German defensive fire. I believe here the Americans are going to bounce back. No reason why not to. Well, we create another hero, and he's pretty much alive. The other hero got blown away, unfortunately. So let's take a look at the casualty bin, and this is only Ally turn 2. Let's take a look at the casualty bin, guys. Okay, here comes the Germans. This is not good. We got 27 CVP already. And a lot of it was due to the machine gun fire from the second level buildings. And all we got here is Brown, Lieutenant Brown, 4 CVP. Here we got more exchange of fire. There's a lot of firepower to go around everywhere. So these guys now are just firing on the crew exposed unit here. And I believe they're going to fail the morale check, the task check eventually. They're still good. Okay, so moving along. I decided to change to these counters because the other one is really, really lame. So what do we got here? We got another heat of battle. He became fanatic as well. So we have two fanatic units up front, one with a bazooka and one with an MMG. Wow. The German turned 3 and we were throwing smoke, and we threw smoke here to impede this guy from firing on advancing units because we want to come close to the village here. There's no second level unit here. These guys moved out of the smoke and they just do to the left bank of that building. Um, this unit was annihilated. So whether I'd had him here or here wouldn't have made a big difference. It's not at all, really. Not a big difference whatsoever. This guy would impede him from firing around this area here. Uh, so let's see. Yeah, because ultimately the firepower here just obliterated him. Here we go with the big boy here, firing over there. Just got a knack, but it's only a matter of time before he gets obliterated. So one way or another, he got broken. And now here comes the another advance. Ooh, there, boom. Let's see what's going to happen. We're doing the math for the to hit 3 hindrances. So I put down 8 vehicular target type plus 3 hindrances plus 4 for motion. Need a critical hit. Why would it be an 8? Range is 14. 14 range. I think it's an L-type weapon. Let me double check that. Oh yeah, well, I got a base 8. That's correct, but that base 8 at that range should be base 9 because it's an L-type weapon. Uh, yeah, still rolled more than I needed, I think. All right. Um, so you first barred, but retain concealment. So that kind of should have DM'd this guy here because we went adjacent. Um, in the heat of battle, you kind of forget things sometimes. Here comes another tank. Now the tanks are up front, but the question is here is how much German troops do I have left and how many buildings I have to take? That's a lot. That's a lot of buildings relative to very few survivors of the frontal assault. You know, so I guess the main takeaway here is that prior to prior to executing your plan or saying approving of your plan, what you need to do is estimate if that plan would be successful, give or take maybe a 30% loss of your OB or 30% loss of your squads, um, and kind of guesstimate what will be your potential loss before you execute your plan and give your plan a sign of approval. You know, you have to kind of think about what is the acceptable loss rate, and whenever you are on assault, um, you are the attacker, you will invariably suffer some casualties because you can't afford, as like the defender, to sit in cover and just simply shoot from your position. You have to execute movement and fire. So and prep fire in this case is not your friend. Now you can see as the Americans, I am setting up a line of defense here, and I am protecting all these buildings to my rear. And what do I got the um, Germans uh, doing? I have the Germans only potentially um, saving some grace and capturing a few buildings, but the majority that he needs um, to win are behind my lines. Here we are. Boom. He ended up getting his gun mouthed. Puts him out of the picture. He ends up immobilized and fails the task check. But hey, look in chapter 10, not chapter 10, look in chapter D, and you will find the rule for reentry. So keep that in mind. Just because that AFE is immobilized, the crew survives. Um, he gets out of the AFV. If he lives another day during his movement phase, if he expends all his movement factors, he can re-enter um, that AFV. So the specific rule for entry is D delta 5.42. And keep in mind that the vehicle can be re-entered possibly by its inherent crew, all right, or another MMC and possibly an enemy MMC. However, for um, for inexperienced crews, there might be penalties to operate that AFV. So things like that can be a bit of a game changer if you are familiar with those rules. If you're not, and you simply abandon that AFE and leave it alone where it is, then you're selling yourself short. So here's the abandoned crew. He can self rally. Don't forget that. And re-entry is a possibility. He's still not out of the fight. So I routed him where he would be an insignificant target to the Germans. Eventually, if he self rallies, he can advance, and then in the movement phase, use all his movement factors to get back into his armored fighting vehicle. And that thing, although it's facing in that direction, it has, I believe, an AA gun, right? Because it's designated as a third number, which has a 360 traverse and a turret that can spin around and shoot tanks where they least expect it from. There we go. We got quite a few units that were broken, but they managed to successfully route into a location that's pretty safe and recover. So in this case here, the Germans made some significant progress, took some ground, uh, but they really suffered a lot of casualties. We still have some troops in the rear, and it doesn't look good. A lot of wounded leaders on both sides. Now we got two out of the three Panthers close to the enemy. And all that means is we have a good amount of firepower where we can suppress the Americans from advancing. But in this area here, the board, although it looks busy, it's quite porous, and things can happen. Here, the Americans managed to beat off a German squad in close combat, captured their LMG, but they're now pinned because they have two Panzer IVs pressed against them. And the other thing that's important is there's still a significant amount of Americans here that can uh, try and defend this flank of the village behind this roadblock. Um, so basically, the only way to for the German AFEs to come on and penetrate towards the rear of the village is to come down this road here and possibly face a street fighting um, situation here if the American occupies this building. Anywhere the German player takes a tank between two buildings, a street fighting can ensue, and with these units being elite, they can pretty much do damage to the German tankers if they don't have the appropriate infantry support. Here we go again. We're firing. This time Baker showed up to the rescue, laying down some pretty good fire, some opportunity fire there. but I only have a 658. That's under a CX counter, crew exhaust counter. A lot of firepower is coming back at them from the motor. And motors, what they're good for is rate, so they can keep guys with their heads down, uh, broken units DM'd. Here we go, firing all over the place again. Advancing fire and opportunity fire. So now it's beginning to look good for the Germans. And of course, you bring up the Americans to face the threat, the imminent threat, and we have a growing concern of German squads that can potentially make a difference, especially here with supporting the uh, the, the Panthers. So Mr. Lehman here is king, and here we eliminated the uh, what was an American squad with a hero and a bazooka, captured the bazooka, and we're going places. So here's another game changer. This tank got his main armament malfunctioned. Um, the other the other Panther got blown up. So we only have one Panther left with a good functioning main armament, but we do still have on board more than three AFEs with functioning armament, main armament. The only thing that remains is making sure that this infantry, and perhaps this infantry, uh, penetrate through here and start capturing um, buildings. But you know, already it looks pretty dismal for the German player because in that front assault, he suffered more casualties than the Americans, if you recall the earlier version of the casualty bin. So we're almost on towards the end of the game, um, and how the situation looks like now, with at least half of the game popping up, is that the penetration towards the rear was a complete dismal failure. Um, this fellow is about to re-enter into the armored fighting vehicle. These guys are um, they're not out of the game, but they don't have the benefit of a good order leader. That leader is wounded. He can only move 3 movement points. They have to get um, into the village and help their colleagues here. Um, Berger made it really far into the village, but he's facing uh, a good sized attack here. These units here have stood up against the uh, this assault in part because um, Panthers here just ruined their main armament. These guys are going to get back into the fight. These guys have turned their turret here to cover this part of the road. There might be some hindrances and blockages to the LOS here, but still we're good. This guy is guarding the rear of the village. This guy is out nowhere in play that can make a difference, but the units here have rallied and can uh, absorb some of the shock from here, or become reinforcements to this line simply by advancing through this axis here. All right, so this will be the last log really because towards the end, what happened is these two front lines stagnated, um, and the Americans were able to hold their ground, um, chiefly because the way the roadblocks were set up is that um, basically uh, what the German player can do is either go and bypass and try to get into the rear from here, or if they take the main road that is not blocked, is come down this way. If they come down this way, they'll be hauled down in this situation here against the AT gun, but still they'll have a good chance of getting them. So here's what's going on. We have still more malfunctions here in the CMG. Now we're trying to prep fire and just break the enemy, and then use our movement to advance more squads into the fight. See, over here I'm being very overly cautious. Um, I suppose, because I don't want to end up in a situation where uh, I am in street fighting. And here I finally decided to abandon that position. It didn't make sense to have it. So, but I get some hostility fire here, hostile fire. And here's the American defensive fire phase, more or less. And no significant progress, except that we did capture a prisoner. Here, what's going on is that these guys will eventually rally. The smoke is cleared off the board. The tanks that have a functioning main armament have some targets, but they can skulk. They're in a position to skulk. This guy low crawled all the way to the rear. Here we don't have a shot, so not much going on there. And here is American turn 5, trying to rally as many people as we can. Fire, we cannot form fire groups here because they're row houses. Managed to pin the leader. And this Force 747 was basically just firing at the infantry below the tank. And we managed to break and pin some units. Now, this was a game changer. This was a really, really lucky roll. And really, it wasn't the firepower that did the trick. It was just failure to rally. It was a really unfortunate turn of events that forced the infantry to retreat into the woods to the rear, and then they were out of the fight. We had difficulty rallying them. So the plan was sound. It's just that there was a significant amount of bad luck on the Germans' behalf, and some early good shots by the Americans that significantly slowed down the German assault. Now, having said that, what I would conclude is that this scenario follows the historical outcome. So basically what happened in the historical outcome is that the Germans came in, pounced with a tremendous amount of firepower, shocked the Americans literally with the earth shaking all around them, but eventually the Americans held their ground, uh, you know, uh, got some casualties scored on the Germans, and the Germans just hightailed it out of there. And basically, uh, like this plan or not, the same thing happened on this board as what happened on 3rd of January 1945, Longchamp, Belgium. Um, so I'm going to conclude the video here. Sorry I didn't sip any coffee or put on a thinking cap. It happens. But it was an interesting scenario to play. I've already played it several times. I'm also in the midst of playing it with another opponent, a live opponent, well, live through Vassal. Um, so we'll see how the outcome ensues. So what I can say about the scenario in short sum is that if you're playing the scenario, what I highly recommend is that the experienced player takes the Germans, and the weaker player, if any, if it is, takes the um, Americans. I would not recommend the balance one way or another. I took a look at the balance. I don't think that the balance would make a significant um, change in the scenario, either for the American uh, uh, or the um, German. I do feel that this scenario does follow a historical perspective. Um, if you're a gamer, that's not possibly not a good thing. If you are a historian, it is. It is. If you're or an amateur historian, it is because it gives you an overall look of what's going on. And I think the moral of the story here is that an immense amount of firepower alone will not give you a victory. You need a well-defined plan. You need to have steadfast resolve. At this point, with the amount of German units left um, and the amount of time left, I do not think that was wise for the Germans to continue. Had these units not broken, had these units not been stragglers in the rear, and had this unit not reoccupied its position, things might have been different. But again, the major takeaway here, or the major difference here is that the game-changing difference is that the Americans still have a considerable amount of firepower or units that can delay or not allow the Germans to capture 22 buildings. Yeah, that's it. That's more or less it. Now, with that said, we ran into 53 minutes, which is not bad. I mean, it's not realistic to give you an after action report in 20 minutes, and you don't get anything out of it except my my verbiage. To conclude, again, this channel has reached a new height of subscribers. I'm really not sure if it's because of Squad Leader or the earlier videos that I did on taxation. Guessing from the people that do have a public profile, most of you are people that come here for Squad Leader. So I'm going to continue dedicating this channel to Squad Leader and perhaps other war games or other uh, other aspects of my hobbies, um, if I am well. And thank you, one and all. I want to thank everyone from those that have been with me from the very beginning and the new people. The best way to promote this channel is by word of mouth. I think that there is an inordinate amount of censorship out there, and all for the wrong reasons, quite frankly. I think we need to share our different perspectives freely. That's the essence of a free, loving world. And maybe we do have disagreements on certain things, but having disagreements is part of living in a free and open society, and that doesn't mean we should hate each other. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. Keep up. Thank you for taking the time to view and promoting this channel to other people. And this is George. Have a great one. Take care.